All right, I was on a webinar last Friday with Mason Poe from Edgar Allen and Neil Shivdasani from Webflow, and I was interested in the Webflow agentic component build out, and there was a point in that demo when they had created like a price comparison, those cards, and I was curious about how the content was edited, and I had been working on something the day before, and I've been spinning up this. I've been obsessed with content management. Apologies. See, those are the spirits around me being like, let it go, brother. I've been obsessed with content management for a long, long time. My first job out of college was at a company named Hannon Hill, and I worked there for a year. And then I contracted that same services job for like 8 or so years working with an agency named M. Stoner. Went back to Hannon Hill for a couple years, and then had done a couple projects for them since. And one in particular, a couple years ago, sent me down this spiral of a mission where I got really obsessed with re-implementing this architecture in a system I could control, and then money faucet, right? And having worked at the Tech Village for a few years, and being around some of those success stories, you're like, or one being me, would think, hey, if I could get even like a percentage of some of that, I'm a simple man, you know. So I won't digress too much more. A couple weeks ago, I had tried this first in ProcessWire, which is PHP. Then there was Carbon Fields with WordPress. You could actually define really complex data structure, page layouts with that. But then you're still back in that what is now sort of archaic row builder pattern, and I was always obsessed with that visual builder and what could you do visually and tie it to a back-end architecture. And my thought was, at one point, since I figured it out with WordPress Carbon Fields, that maps to a hard SQL structure or schema. Anyway, I hit the wall with that, and I just went back and stripped it all the way down to the bare whatever. Stripped it all down to what the core was, which was just that classic row editor, and that's powering this photography website of mine called Howdy from Atlanta, and I'm about to go down to downtown Cat Eye Creative and drop off some postcards. So if you're in the area, downtown Atlanta, Cat Eye Creative, pick up some Howdy from Atlanta postcards. This one was the I'd added to it, huh? Oh, that's not the gallery, huh? About a year ago, I was walking around downtown with my girlfriend's camera as I was getting back into photography, and as I was taking a picture of this guy came up to me and asked me to help him with some money for a bus ride, and something in me was like, yeah, let me, because I was like, I don't have any money, and he's like, well, there's an ATM over here, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to take a 20 out, I'm going to give you 10, and I'm going to go buy a beer. I'm going to go to Whoopsies and buy a beer. So I did. And on the way, these guys saw the camera on my chest, and they're like, hey, take our picture. And I was like, all right, yeah. And so I got some really cool photos. I really love this photo, and I really love this photo. And I called it A Walk to Remember, and there was all like, just for a fun blog title. And back to the system over here, there's still little hiccups going from preview to the visual, but I've got that built out in here too, but that's not what I'm really here to show off. That's just some of that compelling backstory. I know the internet fuels. I have to inject a little bit of humor sometimes. This has been built, Friday, I went to go try to do what they did and realized I had a price comparison in my Blueprint setup. So if you're also interested, you can go to blueprintcmf.com, and there's a little bit of backstory and docs, and then you can see where I hit the wall, and this is all still in the WordPress version. A lot of this went, I scaled this up a lot over the weekend. And so to me, there's this core, like, what should a CMS do and be able to do? And I was always, again, when I worked at Hannon Hill, I was one of those power developers, power users. I worked some projects that push that system to the max, to the breaking point. You'd have to figure out some workarounds in some cases because it couldn't handle like the amount of content we were trying to index, and then blah, blah, blah. So I know all the edge cases and everything. And I have this computer science degree that sort of acts as a monkey on my back. And I was trying to figure out how to make all these, I could never walk away as much as I wanted to walk away. And so I'm here recording this demo in my attempt to figure out my proper role in the content management space, in the creative space. I don't really what I should do is just start freelancing as like a vibe code oversight guy, because I've been doing that for a few years now. I've tried it all. I've done it all. So anyway, 3 weeks ago, the bug hit me again. I said, hey, man, why don't you try full-on agentic only, build up the visual builder, and now we're here. So normally I start steering back to the demo 10 in, and we're 8 in, so we're doing a little better than normal. If you go to manage site and we have partials, I had already brought this in, but I thought initially it was just a simple page header with a subheading or a lead. And I thought, let me bridge the gap. So I got this email call to action. And for demo purposes, one was going to be editable in the page and one was going to be locked. I'm not really sure how viable like editing it in the page would be anyway. I think that's a feature you'd probably want to lock down, or like you wouldn't really want to give people the ability to edit that. That creates an interesting workflow situation. But we're not ever going to worry about that without some major, anyway, it's time to venture out of lone wolf hero solo guy who also ironically was just trying to do music as a career and somehow ended up here. And that's our little bit of Easter egg breadcrumb compelling backstory that we're not even getting into because we're actually going to go into the demo now. So you can import a partial from that EJS blueprint concept. And here we have this call to action. So you might have a blueprint call to action. You might pull it into your site and be like, stay in the loop. I hate that title. Stay informed. And the rest looks good to me. And so here you might say editable when placed in page layouts, which means you might give a content editor the ability to still tweak that when it's on a page. And right now you can edit the sign up button, this text, and that text, like the button text, this text, and that text. Now, if you go back to partials, email, we should make that persist. Demo copy, I think this is the non-editable. Now here you could still, again, we can edit it here because this is still the source, the clone, the source of the clone. But here we have this checkbox disabled, so it's not editable once you put it in a page. And this is just demo example of what I was talking about last week. So if we go back to site content and let's just get to our tree, I could talk about content management ad nauseum. And my theories on everything. But so here we get to a blank page. We hit that button up there. It toggles between the page preview and the visual edit. And so we go here, we got slash, I call them slash components. I don't know if that's a standard term or not, but, there's still, everybody's got their own terminology. You can see that we got the email sign up demo. And let's go ahead and just go ahead and add the, we'll go ahead and add the email. So now you can see where we have, we're still in the edit mode, so you can edit this. You can edit this. And you can edit the button text. Whereas on the second one, which was locked down, you can't click it and edit that. And so that was, to me, a proof of concept with a little bit more of a real world, because I don't think you would do that with a page header. And in fact, let's see if we can find, we call those landing pages. We need to work on some usability, but so here, this would showcase more of that traditional, if you come from a Cascade background like I do, or I don't, most people that are here that are linked in with me, I'm assuming it's via the Cascade. I mean, I think I had like 25 links from going on for like 10 years or something. I would really, the inner anecdote would be linked. I'd rather be linked out, unfortunately, net worth. And, you can't do it all on your own. Unfortunately, I'm not that level of solo hero guy. We're going to try to keep those side tangent spirals to a minimum from here on out. But so here we go. Oh no, and this was a glitch I just noticed. But anyway, we can actually get to that from this window. So if we go edit partial, well, I can pull it up in a window, which allows us to then edit and see the content on the page, or you could come back here and you get access to like an EJS template, which is a similar thought to Velocity. It just, to me, it's better because you can do like real world programming with this approach, whereas with Velocity, it's kind of limited, and I was always frustrated with that. And the main reason you've never heard of me as a Cascade developer since I've been there is that I didn't enjoy working into the system to the point that I would prefer to ignore the money I could be making out of hubris, out of pride. And it may be time to pride comes before the fall. An entrepreneur, hold on, let me go full screen while I do this one. Pride comes before the fall. An entrepreneur is someone who jumps off a cliff and builds an airplane on the way down. And I like those two ones. I'm doing really good at hitting 15 on the dot. So thank you.